हरि ओम् नमः सर्वेभ्यः अद्वैतचिन्तनवर्गे सर्वेषां स्वागतम्। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्यासम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ॐ मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितः परब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानं वर्षिष्ठां देवसदृशिगणैरावृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दमूर्तिं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे वडबिडविसमीपे भूमिभागे निषन्नं सकलमुनिजनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवं जननमरणदुःखच्छेददक्षं नमामि। चित्रं वडतरुर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्न संशयाः निधये सर्वविद्यानां विषजे भवरोगिणां गुरवे सर्वलोकानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवाताय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। चितोद्घनाय महेशाय वडमूलनिवासिने सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतम् पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यदा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतम् मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महा योगी वयः स्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। यस्यैव स्फुरणं सदात्मकमसत्कल्पार्थकं भासते साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् यत्साक्षात्करणात् भवेत् न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवाम्भोनिधौ तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। नानाछिद्रगडोदरस्थितमहादीपप्रभाभास्वरं ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव बान्धमनुवादि एतत् समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। देहं प्राणमपीन्द्रियाण्यपि जलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः स्त्रीबालान्तजडोपमा स्वहमिति भ्रान्ताभृशंवादिनः मायाशक्तिविलासकल्पितमहा व्यामोहसंहारिणे तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। राहुग्रस्तदिवाकरेन्दुसदृशो मायासमाच्छादनां सन्मात्रकरणोपसंहरणतो यो भूत्सुषुप्तः पुमान् प्राक्साप्समिति प्रबोधसमये यः प्रत्यभिज्ञायते Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namayidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So we have completed up to the 6th stotra and starting the 7th today. बाल्यादिष्वपि जाग्रतादिषु तदा सर्वास्वस्थास्वपि व्यावृत्तस्वनुवर्तमानमहमित्यन्तःस्फुरन्दं सदा स्वात्मानं प्रकटीकरोति भजतां यो मुद्रया भद्रया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये. So this shloka, this mantra, this stotra is basically the Karika is, not Manasollasa, Varthika is starting off on Yaprathyabhijnayate. In the previous stotra, there is a Prakswapsam iti Prabodha Samaye Yaprathyabhijnayate. That Pratyabhijna is again referred here as the Balyadishu api Jagradadishu tata Sarvasu avastatu api Vyavritta swasau anuvartamanam aham ityandasphurandam sada swatmanam prakatīkaroti bhajatam yo mudraya bhadraya tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye nama idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So what does it say? Balyadi shu api. Balyadi means balavastha, means as a toddler. Baladi, balyam, kaumaram, yavvanam, jara, madhyama, jara, ityadi is balyadishu api, even including that. Jagradadishu, jagrat swapna sushupti adishu tatha sarvasu avasthashu api. Not only baladi and jagradadi, sarvasu avasthashu api. Now if you have any other avastha like samadhi avastha, murcha avastha, or samadhi avastha, or if you are in a coma, or if you are on a psychedelic drug, whatever may be the avastha, so api vyavritta asau anuvartamanam aham ityandasphurandam sada. Aham iti andaspurandam sada, in the form of andaspurandam, means like the inner effulgence or the swaprakashata, the self effulgence of the atma. Aham iti, in all these avastha, the I is always, sada means always is there, irrespective of what is the avastha. Even the meditator who is in samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, also has the I, that I am the meditator. So that, and as that tatrapi aham iti andaspurandam sada. Vyavrittasu anuvartamanam. See, all vritti and anuvritti, both the forms. In that form it is in yo mudraya bhadraya, due to yaha means that Dakshinamurti, Sri Guru Murti, mudraya bhadraya, due to the auspicious mudra, which is called the Chinmudra. Chinmudram Ananda Rupam is what we studied. Yaha bhajatam, one who do the bhajana or seva for him, swatmanam prakati karoti. Tatsya atmanam swam atmanam prakati karoti kaha. Who is the one showing it to? The one who is doing this, the seva or the devotion to him through the Chinmudra. No, it is not through the words. It is through the Chinmudra, the Chaitanya Jnana Mudra. So that is the one which is that through that he is explaining the Swatmanam of every avastha in that ahamantyandasphurandam yat asti, that Atmanam prakati saha mudraya prakati karoti tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye nama idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So here he is that in all the states he is showing that Chinmudra has got another meaning is Vyakhya Mudra, Tarka Mudra, Jnana Mudra. All of them are the same only. The different names are being used for different aspects of Chinmudra means symbol of consciousness. Vyakhya mudra is symbol of exposition. Tarka mudra is the symbol of investigation. Jnana mudra is the symbol of wisdom. So consciousness and wisdom are not different. Exposition and investigation are basically the method in which it is being that meditative or the dhyana mudra which is being told. Now, in the authority of pratyabhijna is being questioned by the Purvapakshi, the one who is opposing this, that pratyabhijna can happen. He is putting up in the initial ullasas, he is putting up the what you call the objection to that word. There is a pratyabhijna in the case of Atma. So pratyabhijna balat atma sthayi nirdaryate tayadi ka nama pratyabhijna esha ki va tasya prayojanam. So the question is being asked, if it is to be concluded on the strength of pratyabhijna, means which is the recognition or remembrance of the self during the avasthas, that Atman is a persistent entity. What is then this pratyabhijna and what is the purpose? This Atman is a persistent entity. That is andaspurandam sada is what we have said, that it is always shining inside. Then what is this pratyabhijna, or what is the recognition of which is what is the purpose, is the question which is being asked by the Purvapakshi. So he is further narrating that pratyakshadishu pramaneshu pratyabhijna na pathyate kadam tasya pramanatvam iti pruchan prabodhyate. Pramana, see, for the jnanam to take place, pramakaranam pramanam, what creates knowledge, that instrument is called a pramanam. Now in the philosophical circle, there are different ways in which pramanas are being collected. For example, the materialist Charvaka is only accepting pratyaksha as the pramana. What is pratyaksha means can be sensed by the sense organs, that only is real or existing. They don't even accept the mental inflictions like sukha dukkadi as a pratyaksha for the purpose of that, because that has to have a bit of anumana in it or inference in it, so they don't accept it. So same way for the other, normally the 6 pramanas which are accepted are pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, arthapatti, upalabdhi and shabdam. That is, these are the 6 which is being used. That is inference, concomitance, and then the sound of either Upanishad or the Guru Vakya. And pratyaksha means immediate knowledge through the sense organ. So pratyabhijna is not pratyabhijna na patyate in the pramanadishu. Pratyakshadi means pratyaksha, anumana, upamana ityadi. Pramaneshu pratyabhijna na patyate. It is not being referred in that 6 pramanas. Katam tasyaha pramanatvam iti. So then the question is being asked, what is the pramanatvam, or why, how can you take it as a pramana for the purpose of generation of knowledge? Iti pruchan prabodhyate. For that the answer is being given. Pratyabhijna proves the Atma's eternity. The meaning of the stanza may be explained. There is a Bhatasya kasya chit purvam vasamanasya sampratam soyamityanu pratyabhijnanu chate. Pratyabhijnanam uchyate. So bhatasya kasya chit purvam vasamanasya sampratam. See, when we know something, the English meaning is that pratyabhijna consists in recognizing a thing in the form that this is the same as that, which having once before presented itself to the consciousness, again becomes an object of consciousness at present. Now, this is a technical subject in the sense that if you say that this person whom I have seeing now is the same person whom I met him in the railway station or in the airport. Now, when you met him in the airport in a there is a desha kala which is different from the space and time and location and condition under which you met. Say, let us say Mr. Ram, you met him in the airport. Now, you have happened to go for a function and you come across him there itself. So you are referring to this Ram as that Ram whom I met in the airport. So there is a recognition of a object which was already become once in consciousness from a previous instance being referred to in the present instance when it is being perceived. For that, it is not a memory. Memory, you don't need the object in front of you. For example, when you are referring that, say, so for example, you met Ram in the airport and you are telling your family or your thing, so I was in the airport and I met Ram there, he was also flying in the same flight with me. Now, that is a memory because that Ram is not there in front of you right now. So that is a smriti. But in the case of pratyabhijna, what happens is that Ram is being referred in a different time, space and location as available to the sense organs for referring to not that I am knowing Ram now, but I am referring that this Ram whom I am seeing is the same Ram whom I met in the airport. So, soyam iti, this is the same as that. This is this is called pratyabhijnanam uchyate, is the definition for pratyabhijnanam. Now, how does this apply in our Atma Tattvam is what now being referred to here. Desha kala karakati nava karadadina avadyudanusangikan yataikam vastum anusuyatam soyamityabhidiyate. Just as in the case of external objects, an identical thing which is consistently present referred into the words as this is that, all the accidental circumstances like place, time, form, etc. are being left out of account. That is what is saying, that is that desha kala karakadina. So all these things, the space, time, causation of both the conditions are not conditioning the object being the same. Therefore, the identification between that and this is being brought in the case of an external object. This is that. Soyam iti, saha ayam ati. So, this is one thing, satyam soyam ityabhidiyate. This is how it is referred in the case of, because we are not conditioning, because technically speaking, you have met that person under a condition he was dressed differently in a official formal attire, ready to take an aircraft for a business purpose, let us assume. Now here you are seeing him casually dressed, attending a party or something like that. So conditions have changed, but all the superficiality of the conditions like space, time, attire, and all those things have been removed, and the person is identified as this is that. So this is the way in which normally pratyabhijna is being referred. Maya anusanga sanjata kinchit jnatva adyopahanat sarvajnatvati vijnanam pratyabhijnanam atmanah. Now, the pratyabhijna of Atman consists in this, his becoming the conscious that he is omniscient, after casting aside the notion that he is limited by of a limited knowledge, and so on, a notion engendered by his association with Maya. Now here, why I am taking this thing is that some of the words I don't want to translate with my definition, but I'll explain it. So that what it is saying, that this is to say that the recognition of Atman's self-identity consists of the intuitive realization of his essential nature as infinite consciousness and infinite bliss, after eliminating all limitations of the Maya and its effect ascribed to him by the ignorant. Now, soyam, saha ayam, or that pratyabhijna, ahamityandasphurandam, that aham, andasphurandam atma, how can it be? Now, this is in the case of a jiva, there is a limitation of the body, the name, the gender, the age, that is balyadi, jagradadi, etc. All the avasthas. In all the avasthas are conditioned due to Maya. So those aspects of the awareness have to be set aside for making the pratyabhijna. That is why it is said that balyadi, jagradadi, sarvasu avasthasvapi, in all the conditions which is limiting or referring to a limited individual jiva, that has to be set aside. After that, the awareness in its pure nature, ahamityandasphurandam sada, that sada andasphurandam, that always self-effulgent aham iti, that aham is definitely not the one which is conditioned by the bala, the conditions of the childhood, adulthood, or etc., or jagrat swapna sushupti, is not the aham which is being conditioned. It is the avastha of the deha. But even the deha or the body is being identified as my body, so the I is different from that. So that I, which is divided of body and all his conditions, whatever may be the age and conditions of it, always there is a aham in that, all the conditions, which is referred in the Mandukya as ekatma pratyaya sarya. That atma is the one which is being taken for pratyabhijna as the same as the Brahman, which is omniscient, omnipotent, and that is also is always present. So if you look at dividing these two conditions, when all the conditions of the Maya is removed from the jiva, the Atma which is shining inside the jiva, or which is being perceived by the jiva, is similar in nature with the omniscient and omnipotent and Satchidanandam Brahma. So there is no, that is why I am Atma Brahma, that statement becomes valid only under conditions when you do the cast away all the conditions which is limiting the individual. So Purva Janmanus Bhuta Artha Smaranat Mrigabstabakaha Janani Sthanyapanaya Swayameva Pravartate. Now this is a very weak example, but explanation purpose I'll explain it. Purva Janma Bhutas Artha Smaranat. From the memory of the Purva Janma or the previous birth, Mrigashabakaha means a newly born calf of a cow or an animal. Janani Stanya Panaya. Nobody has taught that calf where it will get milk, but it kicks with his head, the udder of the mother, and it locates the what you call the location, the source of milk. This is what they say is the memory from the past life is the reason why that is being used by the new calf to locate the milk, source of milk for its own survival. Swayameva pravartade. It is nobody educates it, or neither the mother is taking the child and putting its mouth into the nipple or nothing of that sort. The calf itself is locating the nipple and to start sucking the milk. Who is teaching it how to suck the milk? Where is the milk is available? How to locate it? Nothing has been taught. So it must be there in the form of a smriti or a memory from the purva janma. This is what they say that. So purva janma anubhutartha smaranat mrigashapakaha means the calf janani stanyapanaya, for the drinking of the milk from the mother. Swayameva pravartade. It is by as if it is, it knows where you should go look for the milk. So just as Atman remains the same through all the varying states of Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, unchanging through the body changes in the infancy, childhood, youth, manhood and old age, so too he continues to be the same while passing in the succession of the bodies from devas, animals, men and so on, not born when the bodies are born, not dying when the bodies are dying. This is that the translator of the English translation is added that is not born when the bodies are born, not dying when the bodies are dying. This is not there in the sloka. But basically the continuity of that smriti is coming from the previous life, carried by the consciousness or the awareness, is what it is being referred to here. Tasma nischayate स्थायित्वं सायित्यात्मा देहान्तरेष्वपि स्मृतिं विना न घटते स्तन्यपानं शिशोर्यथा. It is therefore concluded that Atman exists in the same even in other bodies, in as much as without recollection of the former experience it is not possible for the child to suck the mother's milk. So that example of that calf taking the milk. So pratyabhijna is thus a source of right knowledge, and it may be brought under the pratyaksha. So here this translator is saying that pratyabhijna should be brought under pratyaksha, only its process is somewhat different from other kinds of pratyaksha. So in the case of sensory pratyaksha, we have that the knowledge arising out of the indriyartha sannigarsham, means the contact between the senses and the objects. Here, instead of senses contacting the object, the memory is contacting the object. That is what it is meaning there. So it should be taken as a condition similar to pratyaksha. While the other kinds of pratyaksha, the contact of sense organs with the object alone is sufficient, in the pratyabhijna, smriti or recollection operates as the additional factor along with the contact of sense organs with its object. Bhranti or illusion, for example, is indeed classed under pratyaksha, though it is produced by sense organs in a morbid state to establish his stand that in using smriti is like pratyaksha using sense organs. He is telling that in the case of illusion also, the pratyaksha is categorized under pratyaksha because the sense organs under illusion is in a morbid state, but what knowledge arises is pratyaksha, but the object is under illusion due to the state of the sense organ. Same way here the sense organ is not operating, but smriti is the one which is controlling the knowledge, because of which it is becoming useful for transaction. पूर्वत्रानुभवे काले स्मृतिकाले परत्र सन् आत्मा संस्काररूपेण मध्यतेऽर्थं स्वनिष्ठताम्. पूर्वत्रानुभवे काले स्मृतिकाले परत्र सन्. So what does it say? present both before and after, both at the time of experience and at the time of recollection. Atman recollects the thing which he has persisted in himself in the form of samskara or latent impression. Now here is that samskara rupena smaryati artham swatmanishtatam. So the Atma is recollecting both the time and that time experience at the time of recollection as well as what is there present in the smriti. The Atman is recollecting because it is remaining in the Atma in the form of a samskara. Because here they have taken an aspect of vasana or a samskara as a latent impression which is residing, which is the condition surrounding Atma. This is taken basically from the in the prakriya or a process which is called rebirth being explained in the Brihadaranya. There is an explanation for the rebirth. There this explanation is being used, that the Atma is transferring when the time of death, using the aspects of the mind, not the interactive phase of the sense organs or the logic, but the ahankara and chitta alone. And the mixture of ahankara and chitta becomes samskara or vasana, in another word. And that is the reason why when people are born, they are having a preconditions or tendencies which are being shown. Some people will love art, some people will love mathematics, some people will be liking devotional things, some people will be going towards financial things. Why do people vary in their interest? This variation in the interest is due to the samskara or the latent impression which was part of the antakarana in the form of aham and ahankara and chitta, which was present from the previous birth, which is recollected by Atman in the new birth. So this type of a recollection is the reason why in whatever birth it is taking, is an animal birth, that is why it is able to go toward the mother's udder and take the milk from the mother. In the case of human beings, there are different kinds of expressions which the child is showing. In the case of birds, it takes on to air without fear. If it is fish, it is directly into the water. In the case of an amphibian like turtle or a crocodile or etc., alligator or something, it has got the children rush toward the water. Why do they rush toward the water? Is when they have no fear for it. This absence of fear is basically because of the memory from the past life. This is what the explanation in the Brihadaranya is saying. That is what is called, the word pratyabhijna is being used here. Recollection here means consciousness of something as having been experienced before. That is the definition of recollection or recognition. On hearing the word recollection, smriti, here used, without fully understanding the meaning of definition given above pratyabhijna and thinking of that Vedantins trying to establish the identity of Atman on the strength of pratyabhijna, which is none other than mere recollection, an objector asks as follows. Now Pratibakshi is again asking, because he didn't get the right meaning of pratyabhijna. He thought that recollection means smriti only. Sorry. So he again asks a question for that. Pratyabhijneti bhavanam smriti ched abhidiyate atmastairye pramanatvam smritischa prapnuyat katam. sorry, if the pratyabhijna is meant smriti or recollection of things, then how can mere recollection be an authority as a persistent existence of Atman? This is the question which is asking. Pratyabhijneti bhavanam smritischet. So he is mistaking pratyabhijna and smriti to be the same thing, abhidiyate. That atmastairye pramanatvam. How can that for the atmastairyam, the persistent, the establishment of atma, pramanatvam smritischa prapniyat kadam? How do you resolve or recognize, reduce that smriti is the reason why atma is recollecting these things? So for that, smritau prakasho nartasya na chapi arthasya nischayah na chapi arthanu bhavayoho angulyoriva sambhavet nanubhuti visishtasya padarthasya cha dandivat sarvatrapi evam ityevam prasangaditi chet shrunu. Now here it is being explained that the objection may be obtained, objection, it may be objected, that the question can be objected. In memory, the thing remembered does not directly appear, nor is it an actual experience of a thing. Nor can they be both the thing and the experience related with each other like two fingers, nor is the thing of an object of experience. The thing and the experience thus related together, like the stick and the man holding it. For then, the same thing would apply in all cases memory. Listen now to our answer. This is first our Siddhanti is objecting to that. What you are saying is smriti is not, he has misunderstood smriti and pratyabhijna is not like that. Dandivat. No, padarthasya cha dandivat. Now, there is a famous statement that, dandi means one who is holding a staff. But the presence of a staff doesn't qualify him to be a dandi all the time. Only when he is having the staff, he is called a one with a staff. That means the walking stick or whatever may be that the staff he is holding. So that type of a condition is not applicable in this case. So prasangat sarvatra api eva iti avam prasangadi tat shrunu. So here now we are going to explain what is the difference between what is the difference between the smriti and pratyaksha, which you have confused yourself with it. So I think we should read this translation also here. It will make sense. The objection may be explained as follows, because what is the objection by the opponent is that if pratyabhijna is mere memory, that is where he himself has mistaken it. Pratyabhijna is not mere memory. It cannot prove the identity of Atman as Vedantin supposes. Now, it is held that pratyabhijna bears testimony to former experience of a thing. That is for sure. Pratyabhijna bears testimony for a former experience of a thing. It is smriti samanah asti. So I gave the explanation before. The Raman, when the Ram you met the airport, without the Ram when you are explaining, that is smriti. But when you are explaining the Ram again in some other location, under different conditions and different attire, that is pratyabhijna. So it is mere memory. And in the memory, as memory, it cannot have the probative force of pratyaksha as to be a thing itself being remembered, because the thing, it is not present to the senses. So this is in the case of memory, it cannot be taken into pratyaksha. Now, for example, when you say that there is smoke in the hill, and that smoke, when you see that, you are saying there is fire there. but you are not seeing the fire. You are only seeing the smoke. But how did we arrive at the conclusion of fire is by way of inference, seeing that smoke, wherever smoke is there, fire has to be there, because smoke and fire is inseparable, in the sense that wherever fire is there, wherever smoke is there, fire has to be there. But doesn't mean that wherever fire is there, smoke has to be there. No, fire can be there even without smoke. When the smoke comes from a wet wood or a improper combustion. So, but combustion is required for smoke to come. So there are conditions under which we bring it to under inference. So, but for inference also we need a pratiksha or a direct experience of the relationship between the fire and the smoke. Same way, here what he is saying, that and memory, it cannot have probative force or pratiksha as to the thing itself is remembered only, because it is a thing which is not present to the senses, nor as an actual experience itself. And when it is being remembered, it is not an actual experience, so it is not direct experience, because actual experience passed away. The time and the space and the location of that actual experience is no more valid, because they have changed. It cannot be therefore have a probative force of pratyaksha as to both the thing and the experience regarded as independent to each other, are two fingers, or as much less can it be proved that the thing have been objective experience. Our two fingers means it is as good as saying that your index finger and the thumb is the same. Like that, it is invalid. What he wants to say is that because there is no direct experience of the object and the event now, where it is only being recalled from memory. And if memory is to be held as a sufficient evidence as to be experienced, then the same probative force of pratiksha will have to be attached to the memory of a thing called by mere word. So if experience of a direct experience, which we have during a sensory input, and if you are comparing that, memory can give the same experience, it is not valid, because in the case of memory, that object is not presented to the sense organs. So by bringing a word like Atman, you cannot bring that experience of what was experienced as a childhood, what you experience as Atma or I, is the same I which you are saying now. That is the objection which is being brought in by the opponent, because the word is the same, Atma you are using, and the Atma which was present as a child and experiencing when the child was experiencing I, and this I now which is being referred to now is from memory, is what the opponent is saying. So for the Vedantin answer is that the Vedantin does not hold that mere recollection is a pramana. It is not that we are bringing it from memory. A source of right knowledge is only a pramana. It has to be a source of right knowledge. What he means only is that a recollection cannot be explained in the absence of a persistent Atman. Now Vedantin says that in your memory also, unless there is a entity which connects your memory of the past to the present of the experience when the word is being uttered, there has to be somebody which is connecting your memory to that period and time which has been past and gone to this moment. Otherwise, how will the memory be recollected? If those both there should be somebody persistent in both the conditions. Only such a person can say, I have the memory of that. Now, as to the Now this is what he is saying, that only explained in the absence of the memory cannot be explained in the absence of Atman. Because if Atma had not been there when the first experience is happening, which is becoming a memory, and that same Atma is not present now, how can you even recall and say that that is this? Because it both should have the same person to refer both the conditions. Now the origin of the memory is being explained. Proktanu proktanam proktan anubhave nashte tad avashtambha sambhavat samskara samjnat samagrayat samagrayat paurushat jayate smriti. Proktananubhave nashte. So when the former experience has been disappeared, nashte, avashtastambhavat. The memory springs from a cause abiding in Atman called samskara. Samskarajam, samskara samjnat, samgram, samskara samjnat, samagryat. Samagri, that is samskara, and the later impression is the produced from the seat of experience. Paurushat jayate smriti. This samskara which is residing, which is abiding in Atman, is persistent. There is why, even though time the former experience has disappeared, the impression in the Atman, in the samskara of the previous experience, is what is being Atma is recollecting. So that is being reproduced. It is a seat produced on a seat of experience in the second case as smriti. Paurushat jayate smriti. So what is smriti is being explained that here. This is smriti, or the memory is the impression in the presence of Atman when the first experience has happened, and abiding in Atman in the form of a latent impression or vasana or samskara. That when it is being recollected by Atman is what is called smriti. Not he is recollecting a event which has gone by. The event which has gone by has gone, but it has left an impression, and that is impression is persistent in the Atman in the form of a samskara, and that samskara is what is being recalled by the Atman in the present situation, and that is called the smriti. Avedyanubhave nashte tadiyam vishayam pyaprati anubhava sakamatmanam anubhavakam atmanam bodhayati bodhayati anapaniyat anapayinam. Okay, bodhayati anapayinam. This memory, which is the memory, that is which is produced by the latent impression, gives us to understand that Atma is persistent. Only the impression as being conscious to the object of former experience, and after immediate experience vanished away. So when the event took place, thus it has to be the same Atman which witnessed the first event of events happening, which left an impression in the memory, in the samskara, latent impression. And when the same Atman is able to recall that memory for the immediate experience in the second case, even though the immediate first experience has vanished away. So what is say the Atman passing through an experience of the present moment and then remembering the former event in virtue of the latent impression produced in him by the actual experience of that event, thinks thus: I who formerly ruled a kingdom now lead an ascetic life on the banks of Ganges. He is thus conscious of his personal identity as persisting through two different periods of time, as a king who was ruling a country and now as an ascetic in Ganges. So too, remembering the events of a former birth, he recognizes his personal identity through many births. Thus, a memory enters as a factor to the process by which recognition of the identity is produced. Pratyabhijna has been spoken as then is produced. Pratyabhijna has been spoken as memory. Even though Pratyabhijna is a recollection as spoken as memory, it is not a mere recollection of a past event and the present event. Here we are not talking about the event or the memory of an external thing. Here Pratyabhijna is being referred to the one who is common for both the previous event and the present event. In the case of he is conscious of this thing, then formerly I ruled as a king in the kingdom, now an ascetic life. So ruling kingdom is a memory, ascetic life is a present situation. But the I who remembers the kingdom and the I who is leading ascetic life, the kingdom and ruling the kingdom is a memory, but the I which was present for the kingdom ruling is referred as the I for the ascetic life. That I of the past being referred now is what is called Pratyabhijna. There is a slight variation. It is not talking about the external things. The I as a ruler is now saying I am the ascetic now. But I, the ascetic now, is recollecting of the I-ness of the king. The I-ness of the king and the I-ness, the ascetic, has not undergone any change. But he has the conditional reference of the I of a king with the I of an ascetic. So that is what is called Pratyabhijna has been spoken as memory from that point of view. Vishaye cha pramushite nashte va anubhave sati swavishrandam smarati artham deva aprabhushita tastada devo apramushitah sada. When the object has vanished away, as also experiences thereof, the divine Atman, never vanishing, never unconscious, recollects the objects abiding in himself. The objection has lain dissolved in himself in the form of samskara or latent impression. So this is what he is saying. Vishayecha pramushite naste. Vishaya, that kingdom has been lost. Va anubhave sati. When it was being experienced, has gone now. Swavishrandam smarati atyarthaha. Devaha apramushitah tada. So this Deva, this divine Atman, is never vanishing, as never unconscious of itself, and recollects the object abiding in himself of the previous events and the present events. That is what is called the Pratyabhijna. Pramoshanam pramatrinam mayaya tamasa kritam maya vidye prabho shakti bhano chaya prabho prame. It is the pramatris, or the percipients, one who perceives, that become unconscious by darkness of Maya. Illusion and wisdom are the two potentialities of the Lord, like unto the sun's shade and light. Now here he is saying that pramoshanam pramatrinam mayaya tamasa kritam. So this unconsciousness, pramoshanam, pramatrinam, of the percipient, mayaya tapasa kritam. Due to the darkness of maya, it has been created. Maya avidye prabho shaktihi, banos chaya prabho prabhopame. Like the prabho upama, in the case of a simile, in the case of prabha or the light, bano is like the sun has both light and shade. Prabho shakti, that shakti of the divine, that Atman. Maya avidya is the two avidya, and this thing, this is what is being said, light and shade. It has the knowledge. At the same time, there is a covering of the knowledge by the Atman. The Atman is not unconscious even in Sushupti. This is to be remembered. Atman is not unconscious even in Sushupti. Though Atman does not manifest himself in any particular form of in Sushupti, he continues to shine himself, is self-conscious as before. It is upadhis, buddhi, etc. that lie dormant during sleep, so that the idea or that Atman is unconscious during sleep is mere illusion. This we have discussed in detail, that in the Sushupti, it is agrahanam, because there is no buddhi, which is referring upadhi. It is the upadhis and buddhi and upadhi which lie dormant. So when the buddhi, mano buddhi ahankara nasti is not there in the deep sleep, what happens is you don't know who you are, what is the time, where you are sleeping, what are the memories you had in your mind, nothing is available. But at the same time, you cannot say you were not there, because your presence, knowing yourself, the self-consciousness in the deep sleep is as before. So the idea that Atman is unconscious during sleep is a mere illusion. It is only a avidya or agrahanam for the purpose of explanation, but there is no real illusion or real ignorance there. This darkness of Maya, which has been as old as the universe, anadi mayaya supto yada jiva prabudyate, aswapnam anidram aswapnam advaitam buddhyate sada. In the Mandukya Karika we studied that this Maya, which has been anadi, disappears on the dawn from the sum of the wisdom, on the dawn of the sun of wisdom. Anadi Maya supto yado jiva prabudyate anidram aswapnam advaitam buddhyate sata. That is the time when the advaya atma is shining, when the prabodha samaye, when the darkness of Maya is removed, disappears on the dawn of the sun from the wisdom. Both Maya and Vidya reside in the Lord as his Shaktis. Maya, Vidya and Avidya, both like and light and shade. His Shaktis or powers, like the shade and the sunlight. They are the causes of bondage and liberation. They are said to be abide in Atman as Shaktis or powers, simply because he is conscious of bondage and liberation caused by them. Not that they are ever constitute and the inherent nature of Atma. Unattached and self-luminous as he always is, neither can he be said to gain wisdom as though he had not possessed it before. That is another thing. So, even that Atma-jnanam, what we call it as the self-awareness, is not something which is newly getting added to it. It is always there, unattached and self-luminous as he is always. It's only when the light is bringing, the darkness is being removed, is only to show that the objects were there even before. The darkness has not removed any object from there, but it was not visible. Same way, when the buddhi or the upadhis are being removed for the purpose of cognition, in the deep sleep we are not able to know anything. That doesn't mean our potency to know anything or self-awareness is not there. He is never affected by Maya any more than the sun is affected by the clouds. And as in the case of the sun, it is a mere illusion to speak of Atman as distinct from its light. Just as in the case we say that the sunlight and the sun are not two separate things. But for transactional purpose, we say that the sunlight is falling on the object. But the sun and the sunlight can never be separated. It is the sunlight because of which the sun is known. So same way, it's a mere illusion to speak that Atman is different from his light, or the knowledge of the Atman, which is being present in the waking and the dream, and that Atman without any knowledge or without any apprehension or grasping of objects is said to be remaining in darkness. That can never happen, is what is being told. So I'll stop it here. From the 16th verse, we'll take it in the next class. Any questions?
न महोदय.
Okay.
एतत् समीचीनमेव. अत्र bondage and liberation, it is taking place only at last moment, isn't it?
No, it is exactly what it is saying. No, it can never be said that his liberation is not there. It is avidya or maya or the ignorance thinking that we don't have liberation now, which is holding us as limited jivas. This very moment, if you realize what is your true nature, are you the body? Are you the child you were seeing? Are you the adult which you have become, or are you the old person who you are? No, the I which was there inside you from balyadi jagradishu sarvasu avastaswapi, in all the conditions of that, the I which was there, ekatma pratyasaram, that is your reality, not what you netam iditam upasate, not what you think you are. If that knowledge, if becomes you understand that statement, and you grasp that is your reality, liberation is here and now. Iha cheda vedi atatastyamasti na cheti vedat mahati vinashti. Okay, if you do not understand it here and now, not this very moment, that I am not the one under the clutches of the ignorance and everything, because association with the mind and the intellect, I feel I am limited by the mind and intellect. But I know the mind and intellect, therefore I am not the mind and intellect. Neti neti, pradibodha vititam matam. All those things are saying what? That Swaprakasha Atma is my real nature. The moment you realize that, this very moment you are liberated. श्रवण समकाले एव ज्ञानम्.
भवतः वर्गः बहु समीचीनम् अस्ति. बहु धन्यवादः महोदय.
धन्यवादः भगिनि. No more questions? So yeah, Shobha.
Well, no, I understand the Vedanta inside, but what exactly? One more time, please, Mahodaya. Or is their objection here? What is the doubt that they are having?
They are confusing that this memory. How without can you Atma? Say? No. They are saying the memory of Atma also, the childhood memory of Atma, the I of childhood, is taken as memory by them. Because, or if let us take the kingdom and that ascetic in the Ganges, okay, the I which was thinking he was a ruler is a different I as per them. He is not the same I which is now saying I am ascetic, because that I which was saying I am a ruler is only a memory, and memory cannot be taken as a pratyaksha as per them. But this ascetic who is saying I am the ascetic now, is a pratyaksha anubhava. I am the ascetic now is a pratyaksha anubhava. So don't mix up pratyaksha and memory. So don't superimpose both on the same individual is what their objection is. What Vedantin is saying that unless you identify there is a common entity who knows both, how do you link that memory and this pratyaksha now?
Right.
So the objection by the Purva Pakshi or the opponent is that I which was having memory of the kingdom is different, and it is not that I because he remembers it as a memory, because the time and period everything is gone, and therefore that I is also not there now.
So
that cannot become like a pratyaksham.
Okay. So something like a soul.
No, this is what is the Kshanika Vijnanavadin stand. That time, that Kshana, that knowledge or that momentary knowledge along with the knower perished. There is no knower and knowledge, knowing and everything is there. It's only memory.
But I'm trying to connect that. So how can you include Atman in this picture and say that too?
Right. Now, if the memory is not available for the ascetic to say that I was a king at that time, how will he able to recollect it unless it is the same person who had the memory which is being carried through his memories or impressions or vasana or samskara, and he recollects it that I was a king, I abandoned everything, I have become an ascetic now.
This is the Vedanti.
This is the Vedanti.
Okay,
the Kshanika Vijnani was saying that kingdom and the king and the knower of the kingdom as a king and everything is that moment, because the conditions are there were over. It is no more there now.
Correct, but where are they distinguishing that I away separate from the Atman is what I'm not.
No, that I is no more available is what they are saying now.
So they think it was so that I was distinct from the Atman.
Yeah, that I is different. That I is different, and the ascetic is only recalling a memory, not the I of that kingdom. He is recalling the events of the kingdom, but he doesn't remember the I of the kingdom.
So they do not acknowledge the Atman being present at all times.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make that clear. Thanks. Dhanyawad.
Yes, Patrick.
Hi. It would be helpful if we could just do a quick summary of where we've come so far and where we're headed with all of this. Can you do that?
Well, can I keep the whole summary and run through for the next class?
Yeah, that would be
because
good.
I have to take six stotras from the beginning.
Yeah, that's good.
In that case, next class what I'll do is first take a run through a summary and then take the remaining slokas from this book, this stotra.
Yeah, good. Just bigger picture kind of thing is what I mean, just so that we have perspective on it.
Yeah, because if I have to take everything to that from now, I may need another 1 hour.
Yeah, just more big picture, like, take more, that would be good. Thank you.
Okay, Sat, what is the question for you?
Am I right in understanding that the recollection is possible only because there is an experiencer, and that experiencer is present? That is Pratyaksha.
Yeah, that experiencer is common for the past memory and the present recollection experience.
Now, if I say I was happy, I was sad, I was angry, these are different experiences of different experiencers. And the experiencer who is in the present, to him it's a memory.
You can't say different experiencer. The experiencer only one and the same.
If I recall it right now, then it's different experiencer, but the experiencer which is right now was always there.
Yes.
On recollection, it appears as that they were different experiencers.
Yes. So that is what the stand of the opponent is saying, that experiencer is different of that time. Therefore, it cannot be same for this experiencer which is now. But the Advaitin says that the knower of both are the same. That is why he is able to recollect it. Even though the conditions of the knowing may have changed, the knower without the condition is what Advaitin is referring to, not the conditioned experiencer. The happiness of the king is due to the happiness of the situations which was there. Now the ascetic which is now experiencing but recollecting the happiness of the king is not having the experience of the happiness. He is only recollecting it. That is why it is not called pratyaksha. It is only called smriti, recollection. Because experiencing a happiness directly in the form of pratyaksha and recollecting an experience of happiness from memory are not the same. Even though you may have the knowledge of that happiness as an event which had happened, but it will not give you the same happiness now even though you recall it. Now, for example, you had a sweet dish in the morning. You recall that in the evening, you may have the sensation of that sweet and happiness and etc., but you won't get the sweetness in your tongue or experiences. That is the difference between when you are directly experiencing and when you are recalling it in the form of memory. So in the past, if you had experienced anything and you are recalling now, all you are recalling is the conditions under which you were the experiencer at that time, but the experiences are not now directly experienced. But the observer who was experiencing that and the observer who is experiencing the memory now are the same. Got it?
Thank you, Binduji.
Okay.
Binduji?
Yes, Revati.
Then it's like, is it like that, Binduji? The Pratyabhigna is the one who is remembering that was me, and it is me. And the memory is in Pratyabhigna, he is just remembering that I was there and I am now. And memory is that I was dressed like that, my situation is like that, and it was that time. And because the memory will be lost, but Pratyabhigna will not lost, it will be kept like vasanas. Is like that, Binduji?
No, not like vasanas. See, the vishayam or the objects and the conditions of the past when recollected now is called memory. But when you recollect that I am the one who experienced that as my pratyaksha or immediate knowledge in the past, and it is the same I now who is perceiving my memory of the past event, the present I is not only recalling the memory of past event, but I also have the experience of a direct experiencer of those events whom I remember not as separate from me but as the same me. I don't know whether you got my explanation. When, for example, the king when he was experiencing the kingdom, there is a condition under which he remembered everything. He experienced it directly. Now the ascetic is recollecting the kingdom conditions, and he is also aware what was the conditions of the king, who he himself was there as a king and experienced the kingdom, happiness or sorrow or defeat or whatever may be the conditions. Not only today I am remembering the kingdom and the events which had happened that time, but I also know what was the experience of my experience when I was going through that. That recollection of my knowledge as the king is the pratyabhijna. But the events of the king, when those experiences were happening, when I am recollecting, it is memory. Got the difference between the two?
Last sentence I didn't get, Binduji. Just now you said no.
Okay.
Just now. Last sentence.
Okay. Revati remembers her childhood. The events and everything which happened in her particular day or particular time, she remembers everything. So there are two things there. Revati as a child and the events of the childhood. So Revati not only knows her conditions under which she experienced those events of the childhood. Now Revati has two things to recall for. One is that events which happened in the childhood, which becomes a memory, because those events cannot be repeated. Time, space, everything has changed. But today Revati also remembers as a child how she has handled that situation there in the child, as a childhood. So she also remembers as a child how did he or she, how did she experience it. That not only that experiencing of the events, but as the knowledge of the experiencer of the events also is available to Revati. Is it clear till then?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I thought that Vasa was there.
No, don't confuse that. Now, when you recall the events, that events recollection is called memory. But your own personal experience when those events were happening, even though it is related to that experience and everything, it is a first-hand experience of yours which nobody else can recall. Only you can recall how you were there at that time. Right? That awareness of you as a child, as experiencing those events, is called pratyabhijna. The events of the child is memory, and today now you are able to recollect both the memory and you have the pratyabhijna. Now the pratyabhijna has two things for it. One, there is a knowing principle, which is knowing today who you are plus that day who you were. That there is an I without any conditions. The conditions have changed, but the experiences of that, without the conditions of the experience, the I has not changed. That I which experienced those days and the I which is experiencing now, the memory, is the same. That is why when the conditions are removed, Atma is always the same. It is the Maya or Avidya which is the conditions because of which the conditions appears to be there. The Atma is never affected or inflicted by any of these conditions. And why do these things appear? It is that nature of it, like sun has got both light and shade. Same way, Atma, when it is conditioned by the samskara, latent impression, it takes the jiva form. When it knows what is his real nature, he knows he is Nirguna Atma.
Yes, it's clear now, Pindoji.
So no more questions. We'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawada.